Okay, so we start from the start. Santeri, 60 minutes in your timer.
60 minutes starts.
We are very much upgraded.
We are upgrading.
Is it that we look better?
We do.
We do that also. But is it also that we sound
I
better?
think we sound better because we decided to invest in these little babies here.
Babies. Our both are not blinking.
No, but they're
normal.
They are normal, yeah.
But the theme of today
is coming out!
Coming out!
Oh my god, this is actually a very big topic within the LGBTQ plus
community.
It's
a big thing.
So hopefully in this video we will manage to just go a little bit on what does it mean to come out and what is the actual significance it has for someone that is LGBTQ. Maybe we can talk about our own experiences.
I think we will. So Jorge, let's do this.
Let's do it! Oh my god.
What have you done?
Oh, well, part of the reason why we were in a little break also, I've taken some holidays. We have been going around Sweden and enjoying and being queer as usual. What have you done?
I'm actually going to talk about this related to coming out.
Jesus.
So, like, I'm going to tell a story when I came out to my parents.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay.
But that was a long time ago. I was 19, I think, and I told mom that I like girls, and her reaction was, so did I in the 70s.
I mean, I do have to say it's a good reaction.
Hats off to her, because already when I was 12, she said the words, you know, it's actually okay if you like girls.
Oh. Was that your first coming out?
Well, yes. Can I just ask you if you have a coming out story?
Yes, but I think, I mean, something that to me is very telling about coming out, it's also that a lot of people always think that coming out is like one single event. Like it's always like, that's why I asked you, is this the first time that you came out? Because I think a lot of the times it's like, sometimes even people ask you like, when did you come out?
Oh, yeah, and it's never a one thing.
Exactly, and to me it's like, well, you come out almost every day, you know?
To
it's like,
different amount of people.
Exactly, because even like if you meet someone new and suddenly like they just assume that you're straight and suddenly like at some point the conversation comes into, oh, my boyfriend, this and this. And that. Like, I think it's also, it should be important to clarify that coming out is not just one single thing. Even if maybe for you, there is particular significances of how and when you come out to some particular people. So of course, like for example, when you come out to your family or when you come out to your best friend or something, that might have a specific significance for you. Yeah. But I do think that there is no single point of coming out. I at least in my own experience, I always think it's like, it's just a constant process. I mean, because every time you meet someone new that just assumes your sexuality, sometimes you just have to correct that, basically. And that is a little bit weird.
It's from Uppsala Nya Tidning. Is it showing in the picture?
Yes.
It's Pico Santo and Pico Jorge.
I do have a story about my coming out, and I do need a little prop to say it. And this is a newspaper from all the way back to 2012. And this is in my previous job when I was working. There was it was Pride, and then it was actually very random that they just asked us if we could. If they could take a picture of us kissing when there was like 2 big rainbow flags. We just said yes, but the thing is like I didn't expect that they would put such a big picture, because you can see you even have them back then a minister that is it's a party leader here in Sweden. That, I mean, it's in the tiny picture, so they put our picture like right in the center. So this was like such a visible thing. And the thing is like, I remember that after this came out in the newspaper, I went into like the lunchroom in my previous workplace, and literally this was just open in the like on the table on this page, just like that. So I was like, clearly like people had been like looking at it and just left it right there. And I don't know if people were talking about something or whatever, but I just thought it was fun. because I think maybe some people in the office knew that, about my sexuality, but I think this really clarified it for everybody.
Yeah, then it cannot be mistaken.
Exactly.
But no one said anything that they saw.
Yeah, some people did say that they saw me. But I think, this is because I remember like back then, like when this happened, like some people also, when I had the question like, oh, well, like when did you come out? I was like, I don't come out. I go in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So,
I have to say,
sorry.
it's a very good looking picture. You look so young.
Oh.
So young and dark.
Can I ask you a question before we move to the
Okay.
next one? Do you think coming out is as important as it is perceived in the media?
It depends, of course, like in that sense that it's not the coming out that is important, it's more the people's state of mind that is more important, with that saying that people shouldn't assume, so you would need to come out in that way,
Yeah.
It should be more like, oh, do you have a partner? And it should be like open questions. So I think coming out is unfortunately still very necessary in most cases, because otherwise you start getting placed in a fact, which I have been in, that I've actually been assumed. When I had a girlfriend, I was assumed that it was a guy, and it went so far that I didn't dare to say that it's a girl. It was also my working space, and it went so far that I even named Kaisa to Kai at some point.
Okay.
Like it went really, like it was harder. Every day that went by, it was harder for me. Oh, by the way, it's a girl, so I just dig the hole deeper.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's like, it depends, of course, on each person's situation, I would say, because I would, of course, still say, like, if someone doesn't feel safe enough to say, just don't do it, just always think on your own safety also. The whole time. And I think that's the most important thing, that your well-being is always the most important thing. But I do think that, of course, this is just an imposition, basically, because, of course, if we were straight, we wouldn't have to come out at all.
Exactly.
So in the end, it is an imposition. But I do think that it's a matter also of reclaiming that imposition and then just taking it in your favor also, and just say. But I have never felt pressure to come out, but I do like correcting people when things are. When the conditions allow it, basically.
We move to the next question.
Minerva, what have you seen?
Gay portraying in movie and media always end up with a very sad or like very dramatic, or something die of AIDS, they die of murder, or like super horrific things. And it's just so refreshing when you start seeing a little bit more that the gayness or queerness is just there as a part of a story and make it certain perspective, but it's not meaning that it goes to a super dramatic point of view.
Exact. And that it's just a natural part of the story.
But it was like that, at least me growing up, it was always HIV, something horrible, Or have you any good experience in movies?
In particular in movies? No,
it's movies always, not. Because no. I'm not reading that much as you are, so I'm sure you have more.
No, but I would say when it comes to movies and TV, it was always like that.
Yeah.
The gay characters were always, either it was just like a side character that was there to make fun of, or if there was an actual gay story involved, it was always end up in tragedy. So
or
there's
always a gay guy being girl's best friends.
Yeah, also like the typical gay best friend that is just there, like the funny, sassy character.
And that's when it got super trendy for every girl wanted a gay friend.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. That is also something that is, a very common trope, I would say. I have seen this week is a Swedish Netflix series called Young Royals. Oh my god, it's good. We have actually seen already the first season 3 times.
So it's really good. You would really recommend Young
I would
Royals.
really recommend it. I think it's also for anyone that I would say it doesn't matter which age you are, but particularly I would say if you're young, it's a very good series also that takes the issue of being queer with a sort of lightness also to it. There is no big drama about being queer. The only moment where it becomes problematic, I would say, is like when the whole queerness issue then hits very formal structures, like in this case, monarchy, I would say. So I mean, a very particular formal, traditional, conservative structure. Then I think it makes you wonder a little bit of like what would actually happen if a real case like that would go. I mean, would it be easy for someone in that particular position to come out or not?
Exactly.
I would like to think that in Sweden it could happen. I would like to think so. But that also shows a little bit on how the coming out thing, it depends on all the structures that surround you the whole time.
Exactly.
And if it is possible for you or not, and to feel yourself and feel comfortable with what you're doing. I just said feel yourself. That's not a good thing.
I didn't react on that.
And to feel comfortable with yourself, it depends completely on what those structures allow you to do also.
Of course.
And I think that show, I mean, it really shows the whole process of coming out in a very light way, in the sense like it doesn't make big drama about it, but it also shows you how you're always surrounded by certain things. And Minerva, what have you heard?
What I've heard is the fun story when I came out, speaking of coming out many times. I was just at work in a nightclub, like a dishwashing plucker, just plucking away stuff, really simple job. And it was a young colleague, young girl, and she made the assumption of me like having a boyfriend. And I said, no, but I would like to have a girlfriend. And she was like 18, and this was like, what year could it have been? 2009, 2010, something like that. I was a little bit older. And she just looked at me like this. And she was like, I could never see my mom in that way.
Her mom?
Yeah. That's when I was like, what? Wait, what? I just came out as liking girls, and not as an incest. And she was like, she didn't really take it in. She was like, no, that's just like, that's wrong. And I was like, but you're straight. And she's like, yeah, I'm straight. Do you see your dad like that?
I know. Like, I would be a little bit shocked about that answer.
Yeah, I was. So, what have you heard?
Yes.
You're still shocked about my story.
I'm very much still shocked about that someone would ask that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I actually have a similar answer, because I think I just wanted to reflect a little bit in the intersection between the assumptions about one person's sexual preference and gender expression also, in the sense of, because I mean, we have done a video about being both of us pansexual, so we both define ourselves as pansexual. Go and watch it, click on it. But I think when it comes to coming out, also particularly in the, I mean, with the identity that we identify with, being pansexual, sometimes it feels that you actually have to come out in different levels the whole time. Also.
Yeah.
Because to me, it has happened also in the cases where, for example, I've had girlfriends before also, and then suddenly I have a boyfriend, and then someone asked me like, oh, how is your girlfriend? I was like, oh, well, that relation is done, but I mean, I'm together with a guy now. And then sometimes it feels like, oh, are you gay? And it's like, no.
You thought that you were just finally came over and turned gay.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, these sort of like having to then clarify extra things the whole time. Or it has happened to me also the opposite ways. For example, when I've been together with a girl, and then particularly that we go and hang out with friends, and, you know, as you were talking about, that there's this like guy jargon and stuff like that. And of course, like, since you're there with a girl, they assume that you're a part of the crowd.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you hear homophobic comments and stuff like that, that they feel very comfortable of making, because their assumption of you is that you are straight. Exactly. And that, I mean, that has led to me, for example, to a conflict in actually the only physical conflict I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
In a fight?
It was not a fight, it was more just pushing around. It was more like, I mean, someone assumed that he was surrounded by only straight men, and then a lot of really homophobic comments started to pop out. And then, like, typical. It was a very stereotypical comment. Also, that was like he said like, "Oh, but I feel so bad that there's so many like queers around the whole time because what if they start hitting on me? Like, well, I'm just gonna punch them." And exactly.
Oh my God.
And then like my answer was like, you know that we are queer, we're not blind. He was very confused about the comment because I think at that moment it didn't make a lot of sense for him what I was saying.
Yeah.
And then he asked me like, "Oh, but what are you saying? Are you queer?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not straight if that's what you're asking." And then he started to get like physically. We were at a bar.
So then he started like.
He started to get physically aggressive. Yeah. We were at a bar,
Oh my God.
and luckily also the guards, like the security guards from the bar, he just grabbed him and took him out.
That's scary.
And this was a very good friend of my girlfriend back then. So I mean, but I mean, to me, this also counts again as a little coming out story because it was a moment in which I clarified for someone about my.
And you apparently weren't safe then.
Exactly.
And it could have gone.
It could have gone a lot worse.
So that's really good to underline and think about. That's awful, but
exactly.
it's like that.
Exactly. The only thing I wanted to clarify here is also that, for example, in the particular way of defining yourself as being like pansexual, also depending also on how you are perceived by other people, you might need to clarify things a little bit further the whole time, and that is sometimes a little bit tiring.
It is. No, but seriously, sometimes you are you want to tell a story and it gets interrupted with, "Oh, but I want to know more about your sexual identity.
Exactly.
Tell me everything."
Yes.
I've heard a lot of shit actually to this. It's all coming back to me now once we're coming to this. Like, for example, a friend making assumption of what color of dildo we use. Because, I mean, if you're lesbian, of course you should like unnatural colors of the dildo, because if it gets too natural then it gets too straight. Yes,
it's so funny how people assume things.
But it's like I'm sorry, but their brain shut off 90%.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just go with the assumption.
And the assumption of compulsive questions. How do you have sex? When did you come out? How did your parents take it?
It all comes down to the fact that, I mean, coming out, it always depends also not only on you, but also on whoever's in front of you the whole time. Because, I mean, those assumptions.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we were talking about the health episode, when you were talking about queer health.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same there. It's not, it shouldn't be only about you. It's the people among have to also change. Do you want to fill my glass or something? Okay. Not much, because I cannot. No!
Cheers. Oh, we're still filming. What have you read this week, Minerva?
Well, this week, nothing.
Very good.
But I did read, a few weeks ago, I did read a quote that said, "I'm not broken. I'm a proud asexual." I started thinking about all the letters like of the LGBT that like asexual folks usually have a certain even harder stigma that is not that talked about at all. And I really have heard a lot of even queer people saying that, yeah, but you are broken then, like, or something is wrong if you're not sexual.
It's just I actually don't want to go all the way to the extreme of saying like it is true, for example, but you know that there's a lot of also assumptions that we hear from outside the LGBT community saying like, oh, but the queers are always over sexualized. Blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to say that I agree with that reading, but on the other hand, yes, it's true that within the community we have a hard time understanding asexuality also. And that it might be quite hard for some people to just say like, you know what, I'm not into sexual practices. I don't feel that desire, I don't feel that attraction, and it's perfectly fine.
Exactly, but sex is such a norm. Sex is taboo, and yet taboo. It's taboo, and it's at the same time a norm. It's like this charged subject you should either love but not be proud of, or at least in a certain way. You shouldn't express it in a certain way. But at the same time, it's like of course, everyone loves sex.
Yeah.
What have you read?
Oh my god, this is my favorite question.
I know.
I have a book with me, and this is a book called Himlabrand. It's by a Sami author that lives in Jokkmokk. And this is Jokkmokk is a town. It's a Sami town in northern Sweden, in the Northern Lapland.
Super cold in the winter.
Super cold in the winter. Have a very important market also in the winters. So if someone is into nature, markets, reindeer, and everything that surrounds Sami culture, you should go to Jokkmokk. But that's a different story. No, it's not a different story, because this story actually also happens in Jokkmokk. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk about this book is actually, it's also a LGBTQ story. So it's a story about a reindeer. I have a very hard time translating this word. Should I say reindeer carer? Caretaker. Reindeer caretaker.
Caretaker.
Yeah.
Reindeer caretaker or a farmer.
A
I think your boyfriend.
Reindeer herder.
Herder. It's about a young reindeer herder that suddenly realizes that he is in love with his best friend, who is also a reindeer herder. And they're both Sami. They're both guys. And he suddenly starts realizing that he is attracted to him. And at the same time, he starts realizing then, of course, that he is homosexual. Yeah. So it's his own realization about it. I'm not going to tell you a lot about the story, because, of course, if you want to know the story, you should get the book and read it. But the only thing that I wanted to point is a particular part of the story where he is actually listening to his dad also while they're watching TV. And then they're watching a movie, and then two guys kiss, and his dad gets super angry, and he starts saying like, why do they have this on TV and so on, and like, why, like, it's like, this is not okay. And then after that, he goes to his room and he searches for the TV channel on his computer, and then he keeps watching the movie by himself. I'm talking about this young kid. And then there's another episode in the story that he also is listening to his dad talking to his friends. I mean, to his dad's friends also. And then there's a lot of like homophobic comments and so on. And I think the author did a very good job just reflecting on how that experience happens for young people when they're realizing or coming to terms to who you are also. But at the same time, while you're coming to terms in your own experience, you're still surrounded by those things, even in your own house, that those things keep happening, and you keep hearing those comments, and that made you feel very unsure about who you are, but also about how safe you might be in your own environment. And I think a lot of people can actually identify also with that, in the sense of like, when you are just wondering about who you are, and at the same time you're listening to those things happening around you, and even coming from your own family. I mean, your father, your mother, your uncles, your brothers and sisters, maybe just throwing out those things the whole time. I mean, the little microaggressions, and in some cases not even micro, I mean, just really blatant homophobia going on the whole time. That I think that is why I was trying to say that coming out should be a process the whole time, that it's only about yourself. I think to me that is the most important thing that I wanted to put out in this video, in the sense of like, the coming out process is not about the other people, it's not about them, it's not about the context that surrounds you. Coming out is about you, and you should feel fine, and you should feel comfortable, and you should be safe with who you are. And I think to that extent, the most important coming out should always be the one to yourself. I mean, the most important coming out that you have is the one that you at some point finally come to terms to yourself. And then you just tell yourself, yes, I'm this. After that step, I think then you decide who else you need to come out to.
Yeah, totally true, because then it gets so much easier also to handle the potential negativeness that comes from the other, that you're not completely relying and absorbing the things. And also, I would say, like, to first come out in a safe place that you know amongst other queers.
Yes.
That you could, as a first step, say to them that like
I would actually tell that to particular young people also.
Yes.
Like, it's like, I mean, always stay on the safe side. I mean, if you feel that you have that confidence with your family, then of course feel free to come out to your family. But if you think that you're going to end up in a situation in which they're going to react super bad, and maybe, for example, you're putting at risk having a roof over your head and stuff like that, just think about it also. And maybe just first come out to your friends, maybe find, I mean, if you have a queer friend, also like talk to them, I would say. As we have said before, I think that's the whole thing with the queer community. We're family in the end.
And that's also one big part why we wanted to do this YouTube.
Exactly.
To be online
to be
family.
An online queer family.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rainbows and unicorns.
Rainbows are unicorns. I also have to say, just to be clear, you don't owe coming out to anyone.
No, you don't.
Anyone.
Like, let them feel stupid of assuming that you're straight or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, that's also an option.
Because I have heard that before also, when someone like, oh, but why didn't you tell me first? Like, why didn't you ask before?
Yeah,
or like,
why did you assume? And like, it's not my place to
so it's
correct
like you don't owe coming out to absolutely no one. We have reached to the end of the video.
Yes.
And the last thing is, as always, just to ask you to please like
and subscribe
and ring that bell.
Ring that bell.
No.
Click that bell.
Click that bell.
And also comment, because now I think you can actually hear what we're saying. So let's have an interesting conversation. But tell something about your experience in coming out, or
actually, yes. Like, whoever is watching, just feel free to leave a comment if you want to share anything you have to say about your own coming out experiences, or simply what do you think about the whole coming out thing. Because it would be nice to hear about it.
Or
also.
just give us compliments. We also like compliments.
See you next week.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for